What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Blake here, coming at you today with the Week 2 of the Quarantine Draft League Battle. Now, this will be a post-commentary battle, so I'm going to go over the Pokemon that my opponent was bringing, and then the team that I built for his team. And please do stay until the end of the video, because it is actually a very exciting battle with my good friend TimberPlayz. If he's got a YouTube channel, I'll link it in the comments, or not the comments, the description, as well as everybody else in the Discord group that I'm in that has a YouTube channel, as well as the Discord chat itself. So if you guys want to hop in and, you know, just hang out, be cool with other people in the same scenario, they're really good dudes, and we're all willing to help if you guys are wanting to start YouTube channels. So please check that out. But without further ado, I'm going to go over Timber's picks. So first, he started off with a Mew, very, very solid pick, especially in the draft format. 100 base stats for everything, so it can literally be used for just about anything you want to use it for. Then he chose Infernape as a second round draft pick. Infernape is a great Pokemon. It has the potential to be both a special and physical attacker with a really high speed stat, so it can really rock your world. You don't know what to expect from it, really and truthfully. Then he's got Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is good for defog. It gets toxic. I mean, we're doing a Galar Dex draft, national Dex, so any Pokemon could have toxic, but I know toxic ran quite a bit on Mandibuzz, as well as defog. U-turn. It's quite a good utility Pokemon. Then he's got Cradily. I think he took Cradily for the Storm Drain ability, being that there's Dracovish and just a bunch of different Pokemon like that threaten you with water type attacks. Dreadnought, great Pokemon. It's got two really good abilities in Strong Jaw and Swift Swim. Strong Jaw based power of biting type attacks like Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, Ice Fang, Crunch, Bite, any of those, minus Bug Bite. As you guys can see, Bug Bite is not boosted. And then Swift Swim, if you got Rain Dance up, this Pokemon's speed is doubled, so it takes his pretty meh speed stat and doubles it. Oop, did not mean to go all the way back out. Then he chose a Behem. I guess for its analytic or synchronized abilities. I mean, he's already got a synchronizer in Mew. It's got a really high special attack stat, but a really low speed stat and pretty okay defenses. So I don't know. I've never used Behem. I've never really had it used against me. So I didn't really know how to prepare for it. Then after that, he chose Toxtricity, which is my favorite Gen 8 Pokemon. It's a mix of my two favorite typings, and it's just a wonderful Pokemon. It's got a really good special attack and attack stat depending on which form you're using. I don't think you can really choose the different forms on this particular game. Well, I think you can. I think there's a way you can do it, but that's the base model they chose for Showdown. Then he's got Oricorio. It has 4 different forms as well, and its ability Dancer. It's pretty great. Really good for, you know, when you're going up against a team that you know uses Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, moves like that a lot, to copy what they the stats that they boost from that. And we got Duraludon. It can be used as a special attacker, a physical attacker, or a screen setter. And Stalwart's a really great ability. It pretty much stops the effects of other Pokemon. It's a pretty great ability. I love Duraludon. I used him in my first draft league of the new Generation 8 games. He's a great Pokemon for sure. And he's got Snorlax. Snorlax is just great all around. He's really, really bulky, and he's really, really strong. So he just sits on the field and tanks, pretty much. Unless you've got a good physically attacking, fighting type move, you're probably not going to knock it out in one shot. So it's going to sit there for a little bit. It's going to be annoying. It's going to probably curse up, and then proceed to just sit there and potentially even wreck your team, depending on the moves you decide to use on him. And then he's got Lopunny. Lopunny is a strange case. Okay, it's got base 105 speed, so it's one of the best speed tier Pokemons you can have in Draft League for sure. Now, I didn't realize this until this week, but apparently it gets quite a bit of special attacking moves, even though its special attack is pretty abysmal. It still works for it. So that's his team, or well, that's the Pokemon that he could have chose from. Here's the team that I decided to go with. I went Togekiss with heavy duty boots to make sure I don't take any Stealth Rock damage on a switch. With Defog, Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash, and Thunder Wave. Dazzling Gleam didn't really come into play that much this game, although I do. I wish that I would have brought Heal Bell, as you guys will see. Then I have Dusclops, just a super tank. Did exactly what I needed to do. Brought Haze for the setup Pokemon, Taunt also for setup Pokemon, Will-O-Wisp to hinder those physical attackers, and Shadow Punch just so I have a little bit of extra damage. But I feel like after this week, I probably won't run Shadow Punch as much, but I will be replacing that with a different move. I brought Kingdra because I knew he had Pokemon that were really weak to Kingdra, like Infernape, which I expected to see. Dreadnought doesn't really appreciate Kingdra, and Lopunny also can't really do a whole lot to Kingdra. And neither can Duraludon, really. So Kingdra was a pretty good defensive pick against his team. I brought Electivire with Expert Belt and Motor Drive, just in case he wanted to bring Toxtricity. I also had Volt Switch, Flamethrower, Cross Chop, Earthquake. Really good move set. I made him more of an attack-based Pokemon, obviously, because he's got Cross Chop and Earthquake. Those were the main moves for him. Volt Switch was just to get Switch Initiative, and Flamethrower I brought for Cradily. I don't know why I keep hitting the home button. I brought Flamethrower for Cradily, Duraludon. Well, I mean Earthquake and Cross Chop for Duraludon, but I brought Flamethrower for the. I guess just because I really wish I would have brought Discharge over Flamethrower or something like that, but you live and you learn. Cobalion with the Chople Berry, because I figured he would have some fighting type moves to take out Cobalion. It was either the Chople Berry or the berry that stops or halves the damage of a super effective ground type move. I can't think of the name of the berry off the top of my head. But he rocking with Stealth Rock, Volt Switch, Close Combat, Iron Head. Pretty standard set. A lot of people also run Taunt on Cobalion, but I had Taunt on Dusclops already, so I really didn't see the need. I guess Cobalion would be able to use it a little bit better than Dusclops because he outspeeds, so you'd be able to he outspeeds a lot of Pokemon, so you'd be able to stop them from using any type of setup move instead of letting them use one and then taunting. And then I brought Landorus because he is the strongest Pokemon I have available to me. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I did bring Landorus. He is here with me. I used a really standard set on him. I used Earthquake Knockoff, Stone Edge U-Turn, 252 plus speed, minus special attack, 252 attack, 4 in special defense. But yeah, and he's rocking the Assault Vest, so he could live a couple of special type attacks just in case. And that Assault Vest actually did come in pretty handy in this battle. So, let me get the battle loaded up real quick, and we will go ahead and go over that battle. I'm going to set it to slow, and we will pause it every now and then to go over my thought process. Also, I'll have to click play before I can switch sides. So let me do that. Switch sides. Alright, so here we go. First turn, he sends in Lopunny. I go Electivire because I know I have Volt Switch. I can get the Switch Initiative. He switches out. I go for the Volt Switch. Going for the Gusto. Could have went for Cross Chop right there. Would have done quite a bit of damage to Duraludon anyways. I go out into Landorus to drop the Duraludon's attack. He switches out, knowing I'm going for the Earthquake. I went for the Earthquake. I knew he would probably switch into Mandibuzz. But I went for the Earthquake anyways because I figured, I don't lose anything by using Earthquake here. So I go for the Earthquake just on the off chance that he decided to stay in. Then I U-turn out, Get a nice little chip damage off of Mandibuzz there. Go right back out into Electivire. He U-turns out. I guess he figured I was going to go into an Electivire anyways. So this time I stay in and just go for the Earthquake. I knock him down to 12%. And then he sets up the Reflect. And I realized that Volt Switch, I look back up the log here, and I saw that Volt Switch did 14% damage to Duraludon the first time I hit him with it. So I figured Volt Switching right here would take it out. It would give him the switch initiative because Duraludon dies. But going into Landorus, there's not really a whole lot he would like to switch into that. He goes for the Blizzard here, which is where I initially was like, what? What do you mean Blizzard? He went Blizzard on a Lopunny. I was thinking physical Lopunny with like maybe, I don't know, high jump kick, return. Well, return's not technically in this generation, so it's not legal in the draft. But I figured he was going to go for something like that. He went for Blizzard. I was shook. I knocked off his Chople Berry, and then I switch into Kingdra because I know Lopunny can't really do a whole lot to Kingdra. He Baton Passes out to get the switch initiative. Goes out into Beheeyem. I set up a D-Dance. Beheeyem sets up tries to go for a Thunder Wave, and I realized that after Gen 7, Thunder Wave's accuracy actually was dropped to 90% or 95%. And I was like, oh wow, I completely forgot Thunder Wave could miss. So he goes for the Thunder Wave turn 2 with his Mon out. He gets the Paralysis that turn, but I'm still faster. I hit the Waterfall that turn. He flinches, and then Beheeyem goes down this... Oh, wait. No, he actually does get a Psychic off with Beheeyem. But Beheeyem does go down this turn, the turn that the Reflect wears off. Probably would have went down last turn had the Reflect not been up. Waterfall takes him out, gets a crit for no reason, but other than I'm a sniper. I just kind of let Kingdra go here because there's not a whole lot I can do with him being paralyzed and having such low HP. So that way I get a safe switch into Cobalion. Set up the Stealth Rocks. He goes for Thunder Wave. As you guys can see, he really likes his Thunder Wave. Baton Passes just in case I switched. I do not. I go for the Close Combat here. Do a nice little chunk of damage. Drop my defenses as always. Switch out into Dusclops here. Now Dusclops is going to be my boy this game. He's going to be the one that takes the brunt of the damages. Goes for Defog to get rid of the rocks. Smart move, obviously. Now, at this point, I realized he set up the rain, and I was like, why in the world did you set up the rain? I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. He U-turns here after the burn, which does less than 2% damage. I go for the Shadow Punch. He pretty much figured I was going to go for the Ghost-type move. He goes for another Thunder Wave. So this Lopunny's sole mission in life is to just Thunder Wave my team. I burn it thinking, okay, maybe it's got some type of physical attack, and then I realized I'd already seen all of its attacking moves, but I realized it a little too late. Either way, burn damage would be pretty good on it. It would be a nice little chip. He goes for another U-turn here, thinking I'm going to go for another Shadow Punch. I go for a Taunt, but I get paralyzed. I expected the switch there. That's because his only attacking move was U-turn, so that's the only move he could have used. I go for another Taunt on the switch, so again, all he can do is either U-turn or just swap out. I swap out, go out and do Electivire here to try to take out the Mandibuzz. He just goes for the U-turn, obviously. Sends out Mew. Now this is where it gets kind of crazy. He starts setting up with Mew, starts setting up the Cosmic Powers. I go EQ. He constantly builds his defenses here. What he doesn't realize is my Dusclops here has Haze. So he's going to set up all these defenses. I'm going to get paralyzed for a couple turns, or maybe one turn here. Yeah, I get paralyzed here. He sets up another one, and this turn he's going to go for Stored. I went for Taunt so he couldn't set up any further. He goes for Stored Power, does about 30% damage. Then I go Will-O-Wisp, which he lums. Lumberry Mew, never seen that before. Then he goes for another Stored Power, does another 30% damage. I go for Haze. I get rid of those stab boosts. I should have went for Haze maybe a little earlier, but it is what it is. Then I get paralyzed right here. think this is where I get paralyzed 4 turns in a row. And it just absolutely boggles my mind. Like, I could have taken that Mandibuzz out with a Shadow Punch had I not been paralyzed 4 turns in a row. But instead, he gets to roost up, set up his rain again, and I just keep getting paralyzed. And there he's back to 100%, and guess who gets paralyzed for a 4th turn in a row? My Dusclops. That is correct. If that's what you were guessing, that is right. Then he goes out into Lopunny. Electivire comes in. I'm just going to go for the Cross Chop at this point. Trying to take out either the Lopunny or whatever he has coming in. I go for the Cross Chop. Does about 30% damage to this Mandibuzz, as well as the burn damage. Then I go for the Volt Switch here. Takes another 31% off of Mandibuzz. I go out into Togekiss. Togekiss is a bae. Togekiss is one of my favorite Pokemon to use of all time. And here Lopunny's going to go for a Thunder Wave to paralyze my Togekiss, which isn't fun, but I do get a crit Air Slash and take the Lopunny out finally after it pretty much Thunder Waved my entire team into oblivion. Mandibuzz sets up its 3rd Rain Dance. I get the Dazzling Gleam off and knock it out. Now this is where it gets insane. I completely forgot Dreadnought had Swift Swim. So it just starts outspeeding everything. First, it outspeeds Togekiss, gets a crit Stone Edge. I don't think that would have killed without the crit, honestly, because I was a little bit bulkier, more invested. And I expected him to outspeed the Paralyzed Mons, like Dusclops and Togekiss. I didn't expect Togekiss to die in one shot to a Stone Edge. It's one of those things. So I send in Landorus here thinking, oh, I'll outspeed, and then I didn't. And I was like, oh, that's why he keeps setting up the rain. Go out into Electivire here to hit an EQ, even though he hits his own EQ, knocking out Electivire. And then finally I have Cobalion left, and the rain finally wears off, but I have a paralyzed Cobalion. He goes for a superpower. The Chople Berry does come through. And right here, I think I go for a close combat to take out the Dreadnought. And then last but not least is his Cosmic Power, Stored Power Mew. And he just kind of toys with me here for a little bit. But there's not a whole lot I can do. If I had Taunt on Cobalion, I might have been a little bit better off at this point, because he's got Roost, Substitute, Cosmic Power, Stored Power. That would have only allowed him to use Stored Power if I would have taunted him. But it is what it is. He sets up a couple more Cosmic Powers, and then proceeds to knock out my Cobalion with the Stored Power here in just a second. I think he gets. I don't know why he rests right or roosted right there, but I mean, because there's really no way I was gonna do any type of damage to him. And yeah, right there he hits me with the Stored Power, knocking out Cobalion. That was a very competitive game. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to Timber. I hope you see this, man. It was a good game. I learned a lot from it. I learned to bring Heal Bell. I learned to bring Taunt on Cobalion more often, because he's faster than Dusclops, and maybe a Dusclops open slot could be something else. Or I could just bring Taunt on both of them. Or I could just bring one at a time. Who knows? There's so many different options. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new here. Subscribe to all my friends in the description. And join the Discord if you feel like it. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and head out. I'll see you guys in the next video.